Yes.
President Galbraith,
Present.
Vice President Morgan,
Present.
Secretary Tyler,
Present.
Board Member Tripp,
Present.
Board Member Miller.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you so much. I'd like to welcome everyone out to our meeting tonight on this freezing cold day and week. So we're grateful that everyone's able to come out. And tonight we'll go ahead and get started. We have some introductory comments by our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Visa Cleveland.
Thank you, and again, welcome. We're glad that you are here this evening. It's all right. We'll make it work. All right. So welcome back. We are at the beginning of the 2025 spring semester. I would have you know that there were a lot of people on break in our district during the end of December, but not everybody was on break. There were several projects that were underway by facilities and the IT departments, and they took advantage of the opportunity of not having students and staff in the buildings, and were able to complete some of their projects. We also had a good number of student activities that were going on during the break, and one of them is was the Rio Rancho High School Basketball Holiday Hoops Tournament. We had teams from all over the state, and it was quite an event. And so a lot of things were going on, but I hope that most people had a chance to get a break and to rest during those 2 weeks. Expansion. One of the things that we absolutely know is that we are seeing an increase in the number of very high need children in this school district. Children who come, if they do not get a pre-K experience, they come to kindergarten 1, or even in some cases 2 years behind where they should be developmentally. And so because of that, the need to get to children earlier, and we know that the earlier that we get to children with disabilities, but even other children, the sooner we have an opportunity to work with them, the greater their chances are for success in kindergarten. And so it's not something that's just a nice to have, but it's something that I think is absolutely fundamental to meeting the needs of many of the children that we see coming to our district. Their needs are great, and the need to intervene is great. And we are also looking at some other things in addition to pre-K expansion to address some of the challenges that our students come to us with. We always welcome every child. We welcome every child that comes to our school district, but we also have to face the reality that the needs are much greater than they have been in the past. And while we've certainly seen some changes before COVID only made some of those situations even more pronounced and more challenging. And we had a study with the University of New Mexico. Dr. Happy Miller, who was here, kind of coordinated that on behalf of the district. And one of the things that she has done is she has worked with children to kind of talk with them and their families about the experience during COVID. And she's getting ready to publish that report. We're very interested in seeing what she has found. But she does told us, at least even in the preliminary report, that COVID did more harm than we thought. The damage was greater, and the after effects are lasting longer than what we had anticipated. The Pre-K Expansion Committee, as I said, has been working for several months. It was comprised of building and district level representatives from across the entire district. The task that was assigned to the committee was to recommend the best option to expand pre-K services for 3- and 4-year-old students, especially for students who have disabilities, as per federal requirements. And so we've seen the number of children rise that qualify under special education. The numbers have not only increased, but so has the severity of their disabilities. And so, and of course, under federal law, we take every child with a disability that falls in that category. Surveys have indicated that our parents would like an option to at least have a full day pre-K program. It was pretty strong numbers that indicated they were interested in looking at that. The early childhood department currently does allow both models, though Secretary Grzinski has indicated that her goal is to provide full day programs in all school districts across the state. and that she'll be working this legislative session toward that goal. And then the board to determine whether they were ready to take a vote on this issue or not, and President Galbraith will address that. We also have an agenda item. The board is being asked to approve accepting a donation from Chalmers Ford. The board is asked to consider approval of a monetary donation from Don Chalmers Ford to our Rio Tech campus. We are very appreciative of their ongoing support of our district and certainly of its automotive program. And an introduction will be presented by Dr. Christopher Johnson, who's a principal at RCT Center. We also have a request for proposal. The board is asked to consider the award of RFP number 2025-06 for the IT department, and it's the E-rate category 2 for Maggie Cordova Elementary, and it's for cabling at that school site. This item will be presented by Michael Madrid, our Chief Procurement Officer, and he is also the Purchasing Director for the Rio Rancho Public School District. This is a 2-year agreement for upgrading the copper cabling infrastructure at Maggie Cordova Elementary School. And then we have some
Okay, we'll now go to our next item, which is to approve the prioritized agenda and the proposed time allocations.
This is Board Member Tyler. I'll make a motion to approve the prioritized agenda and proposed time allocation.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Jeff Morgan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll now move into reports. As Dr. Cleveland said, our first report and only report is a donation from Don Chalmers Ford to Rio Tech for $3,000. So Dr. Christopher Johnson, our principal over at our Rio Tech, will be presenting tonight.
Good evening, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board, and guests. My name is Dr. Johnson. I'm the principal of Rio Tech, Rio Rancho Public Schools' newest CTE high school. It's my pleasure to recognize Chalmers Ford as a remarkable industry partner specifically for our automotive students. Their commitment has provided invaluable hands-on experience to include tours of their facility, questions and answers.
Skilled Trades Center, right? We think that's an amazing program as far as creating the pipeline for technicians coming into the workforce, which is in high demand. We also see great benefit in that. And of course, supporting the Rio Rancho community. We love doing that in general as well. So it's always a pleasure to work with Rio Rancho Public Schools as well as Dr. Johnson. We're extremely happy to donate the money for the program that they're needing for the shirts, polos, jackets, and of course, any future needs that we're more than happy to participate with as well. So that's all I have.
We have to clap.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, before you go, I just want to say thank you so much. And if you could bring back, I think from us, and I know Dr. Cleveland would like to say something too, but we've just been so blessed by Don Chalmers here in our city and all of the wonderful things that they've done for us. And so we're so grateful for that partnership. And so thank you. I don't think we could say it enough, but thank you for being here. And please bring that back to everyone that we're just beyond grateful for it. Dr. Cleveland, do you want to add anything?
I've just said that. Thank you for many years of supporting our district. And, this, the skilled trades is phase 1, but the second phase will come with CNN, and that will be a new state-of-the-art automotive center. So we're excited about what we've got now, and just as excited about what we hope is coming fairly soon. So again, thank you for your role in helping make that a reality as well. And really appreciate you being here this evening.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate that. And of course, I mean, Don definitely set that foundation for us, and we just try to carry that on as best as we can.
Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being out. Okay, we'll move to our public comment portion of our meeting tonight. So we received 3 public comments online today, and I'll go through those. After we go through those, we'll go ahead and do our public comment that came in person today. I'm just counting those up. So we have 6 public comments that will be in person tonight as well. So to get us started, let me go through. I'm buzzing. Is that buzzing on? into the boardroom tonight. I just want to set some reminders. I think all those who are on it have been giving public comment over the last little bit, and so you guys get to hear my spiel a lot. But just a reminder that JC will have a 3-minute timer, and when that goes off, we ask that you will sit back down so it leaves time for everyone to be able to give their public comments. Another reminder that directly within this time period, we are not able to respond back to those public comment. But since I think all of these are in regards to something that's on our agenda tonight, they may be addressed as we go through that item tonight. So with that, JC, are you set up and ready to go? Okay. So the timer will start when you start speaking. So our first is Chris Mofat. And you guys can always correct me on names, just so you all know.
Good evening. My name is Chris Moffitt.
Moffitt.
I am a licensed master social worker and infant and early child mental health consultant. I work with children, teens, and adults in our community, and I'm also a proud ally of the LGBTQ plus community, and so is the agency that employs me, Small Steps Child Counseling. It is owned by Courtney Lewis, who is a parent in the Rio Rancho Public Schools community. I will be reading a statement on behalf of Small Steps this evening, speaking to the impact of Board Policy 404 on the mental health of LGBTQ students from our informed perspectives on child psychology and development. As mental health professionals dedicated to the well-being of all students, we are deeply concerned about the district-enforced removal of pride flags and other symbols of LGBTQ plus identity from classrooms. This decision does have the potential to negatively impact the mental health and emotional well-being of these students who already face unique developmental challenges in navigating their identities in a world that might not always be accepting or supportive to them. Research shows that LGBTQ plus students who experience affirming environments where their identities are recognized and celebrated are significantly less likely to experience feelings of isolation, anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation. Pride flags and other LGBTQ symbols serve as vital affirmations of belonging, helping these students feel visible, respected, and supported. These symbols provide a sense of safety, comfort, and validation that is essential for fostering their mental and emotional health. Removing these symbols from classrooms may inadvertently cause an environment where LGBTQ students feel unseen, marginalized, or unsafe. This could have devastating consequences on their mental health, potentially leading to increased stress, a sense of alienation, and a diminished ability to succeed academically. It is critical that schools send a clear message that all students, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity, are valued and supported. As mental health providers, we urge the school district to reconsider the decision to potentially remove these signs from classrooms and recognize the profound impact that the visible LGBTQ representation has on the well-being of students. We ask that the district prioritize creating an inclusive, supportive environment that actively fosters the mental health and success of all students, including those who identify as LGBTQ. Affirmation, representation, and visibility are crucial to the overall health and happiness of all of our students. And removing these symbols could undermine the progress that we've all made towards creating inclusive and equitable educational environments. Thank you very much for letting me speak this evening. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Robert Ortega.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm back again. I've had the privilege over the last few weeks to meet with several of our developers that are developing here in Rio Rancho, members from Pulte Homes, Hakes Brothers, Richmond Homes, Amerston. In the last, say 2 weeks that we've been talking, they've purchased over 1,450 lots, east and west of Rainbow and south of Northern. These are homes that they're selling at an average rate, they said, of $350,000 to $400,000, which are targeting the young adults between 25 and 30 years old, which means they're bringing in young kids, young families. And 3 out of those 4 developers said that the reason why they looked at these areas is because we have a school in the neighborhood, Puesta del Sol. They said that has been their key selling point. So to repurpose Puesta to put a pre-K is going to hurt a lot of things. You're looking at the numbers now, what we currently have. We need to look into the future of what we're bringing in. In the next year to year and a half, Rio Rancho is going to surpass Las Cruces as the 2nd largest city in Mexico. And that has happened as a family. And being a member of the United States military, I had no choice to go where I wanted to go. They have a choice to go where they want to go as staff members and teachers and educators. They don't feel comfortable working at a school that they're going to be forced to work at, they'll leave. They'll go to another school district, and we can't afford to lose any educators. It's hard to come by as it is. We need to keep what we have here locally. They're great teachers, great administrators, great auxiliary staff. Right now, I'd like to commend all of them for working their tails off during this hard time, knowing that this might be a possibility of losing their school. They show up to work every day, they give it 110%, and they brought their kids' scores up in all their testing. And I'd like to applaud them right now for a job well done. Also here with me today, I have petitions of over 1,200 signatures of members from Rio Rancho. Also included in here are city leaders and state leaders that want to see Puesta remain open as a school. And I will hand this to you, Dr. President Galbraith. You get that to this.
Yeah, I go ahead and give it over to JC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have support at every level, state, city. I even have some friends in the national level that are willing to help out. They just need to know how and what they can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Quinn Hollerbuck.
This is definitely understandable. However, I think creating a pre-K program for every school is the best option and more availability to the community. The emotional stress that this is going to cause, changing schools, learning familiar surroundings, and adjusting to new routines and expectations can be emotionally stressful, potentially causing loss of continuity. Continuity in education is essential for effective learning, as you, I'm sure, are aware. The social environment plays a significant role in academic success, as research consistently shows that positive peer relationships, a positive classroom culture can significantly contribute to student motivation, engagement, and overall academic achievement. This is not in the best interest of the kids, existing and future. And how do you plan on addressing the emotional stress this change will cause the students involved who don't have the tools needed to navigate through these very strong emotions? Thank you.
Thank you. And our last tonight is Tawny Nunn.
Good evening, board. Bear with me if I get emotional. I have 2 kids that both go to Puesta. The staff has changed not only my vision of what I had to deal with at APS, they have been nothing but amazing for both my kids. I want to point out that you brought up kids with disability issues. I'm not saying that they don't matter. But as a parent, we have kids with disability issues. We have kids that are going to have to start a whole new school, learn new teachers. They're going to have to be put with not as much time with a teacher that they need, because there's other kids that they have to compensate because the schools are going to be overcrowded. Now, I don't have a list of facts like everyone else does, and I do apologize for that. But I don't see it as being beneficial for the kids, this over 700 kids that are there, or the over 100 teachers that are at Puesta del Sol. that it would be beneficial for any of them. I have my son who's in Miss Mayberry's class. I went in thinking he was going to have to be put on a special education program. Ms. Mayberry, not only Ms. Mayberry, but also him as well, but majority because of Ms. Mayberry, got him where he needed to be. He is raised up to where he is not top of the class, but he is getting to the top of the class. And all these teachers that are sitting here are all willing to do that for every single child that walks through their door. I say if there's any way we can expand PLESA, we are more than willing and welcome, every single one of us, to welcome these kids into our school. But just placing every single one of them between 2 schools, 3 schools, it's not going to work. You're going to see our numbers plummet, and the disability is going to be even worse than before because the kids are not getting what they need. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
We want to thank everyone who came in tonight. We appreciate when the public comes in and gives us public comment. It is good to hear from you. So thank you all. And I know for some, it takes a little bit of being brave to come up. So thank you for coming tonight. We'll now move to approve our consent agenda.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Jeff Morgan and a second from Jessica Tyler. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move into our business portion of our meeting for this evening. We'll start with the consideration of the approval of a $3,000 donation from Don Chalmers Ford to Rio Tech. So we have, once again, Dr. Christopher Johnson, our principal at Rio Tech, STTC. That's what every time I see all the letters I get. Do we just need to go to a motion? I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
Board member.
any questions or?
Okay, no questions. Thank you for working with them, and yeah, the partnerships are always great.
Yeah.
This is Board Member Tyler. I will make a motion to approve the $3,000 donation from Don Chalmers Farm to Rio Tech.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second.
We have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hope not. All right. I pass it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We could clap again. That's always a good thing. We're always grateful for
Money.
them. Very grateful. Very, very grateful. So our next item is to consider the pre-K expansion plan for the 2025-2026 school year. And so we'd like to invite Janice Chenault, our elementary school improvement officer, along with Jerry Reeder, who is our executive director of special services, to present this.
Good evening, President Galbraith, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. We are here this evening to share the committee's recommendation. We've been working with the committee this whole semester, starting in September. We've had meetings every month, actually August, and 2 meetings in December to bring you a recommendation. And you also gave us a list of questions in October. So hopefully we provided you with the answers to those questions. Do you want us to go through the whole thing? Or you just want us to make the recommendation?
Board, what would you like to do? How would you guys like to go through it tonight? Should we go back through the slides? Or are you guys willing to, do you want to just start discussing and have some questions?
I think we just ask questions, and maybe they could go over for the recommendations, the first 2 recommendations, or the 3 options that were proposed, and go from there.
So as a committee, I will say that it was unanimous for every member of the committee that their recommendation was a new center. That was unanimous across the board. I think the wish or the hope of the district was that we would have another building similar to Shining Stars, but with more of what Shining Stars has, because we know there are things that are missing. However, that wasn't something that we had at our disposal at that meeting. We couldn't vote or make a recommendation based on that by itself solely. And so the first choice from the committee was to repurpose Puesta for a pre-K center. That was the recommendation, the #1 recommendation by the committee. The second option that we discussed in the workshop was the possibility of repurposing one of the buildings or one of the wings at Puesta to do a smaller expansion. Just keeping in mind that that might meet our current grant requirement, but it won't allow us to expand pre-K. It'll allow us to move into full-time with all the students. The 410 could be full day, but it wouldn't allow us to add more 4Y students to the grant. And so we stand for questions.
Dr. Cleveland, do you want to go ahead and speak to this and give your recommendations?
Clarification points I think have come up that, so, for the record. We have, we do not have our data for this next year. It's coming, unfortunately, in the next few days. So we've had a chance to see some preliminary, but that's all, and can't talk about that at this point. But I think we can say in general that we're having more and more students come to us with real needs, and they're coming earlier. And some of these students, what we know, what we've learned is the earlier we can get to these students, the better their chances are of being successful in kindergarten. And we hear that across the entire district from all of the kindergarten teachers. They're coming further behind. There's a lot of catch up that has to be done. Some students are a year behind developmentally, some are 2 years behind developmentally. And one of the things we know is the sooner we get to children, the better our chances are of getting them up and ready for kindergarten. We also see the other side of that, and that is kids who do come on to kindergarten without having pre-K experiences, and teachers tell us they can tell which students had that opportunity and which ones didn't, just almost from the beginning. So the importance, I think, of the why we need to expand is we've got more high-need kids. They are further behind than we have ever seen before, history of the school district. The sooner we can get to them, the better we have a chance to intervene earlier. That's particularly true with children with disabilities. It's true of all children that are struggling. And so the goal is to get them ready so that they can take advantage of that kindergarten experience. And then it's a good one, it's a positive one. And when it's not positive, we often set in motion a long-term dissatisfaction with schooling. And so our goal is to help get our students ready for kindergarten. So we have more kids, our scores bear that out. The severity is being documented in numerous studies, but one actually at the University of New Mexico. COVID did a lot of harm to a lot of children. So on top of all of this, we see children that were impacted during the pandemic that has also made it more difficult for them to be ready for traditional kindergarten. So that's the why. The why is that we need to get to kids earlier. We need to expand the program. The other thing we learned in this process is we talked to the parents across this community, they wanted full-day program, and that many of the children who desperately needed our services for pre-K can't take advantage of it because they need full-day care. And so they can't do a half-day. They can't leave their job at Kirtland Air Force Base and come out here and pick up their child at noon, or leave and deposit a child at 12:30 to start a half-day program. So we heard from our parents in this community that they would strongly prefer a full-day program, that they needed it in order to take advantage of those services. We are full at Shining Stars. We are completely full there. And so we are turning away students that would really benefit from the program. We do not turn away one special ed child. We don't ever turn away a special ed child because it's not the right thing to do, but also it is not legal to do that, and you must serve every child. So one of the other kind of growing concerns is that we will lose the peer model program completely because we will have to take children with disabilities, and the peer model program has been just a fundamental part of the success of Shining Stars, because what every teacher here knows is that children learn from each other every bit as much as they learn from adults. And so having that peer model has just been such a boost to helping our children who may be developmentally delayed or who may have a disability a chance at doing well in school. So We all know those needs, and how we go about resolving it has been very problematic. And as Janice Chanel has just said, our goal, it would have been nice if we could have built another Shining Stars. That would have answered a lot of the questions. But if we go full day, we're going to lose half of the children we have even now. So if the state this session decides to go with the full day model, we will lose half the children that are there right now. So it seems like, for the future of the children, the future of the district, we need to be able to provide pre-K opportunities for our kids. And we are seeing that played out in very hard data in terms of this school district. We have lost 700 children in this district. So while we're building homes, so far they're not coming with kids. But boy, we hope that will turn around, and we hope we'll start seeing growth again. We lost the 700 students primarily because of the 9:20 start time. That is as unfriendly for families as anything you could do, and it made their lives very hard, and so some did not stay. So it is a rather complex issue. It's not an easy fix, and it's not an easy issue. But I believe if we do not address the issue of helping these children get ready for kindergarten so that they have a chance to be successful, we are really making a decision that will hurt not only the children, but I think it will also hurt the future of our district. So that's kind of the why, and how is the big question. How do we go about addressing that?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cleveland. So I can see Gary Tripp has some comments or questions to start us off.
I'd like to make a motion, but can I give a comment first?
Okay.
I think that the committee did more than an outstanding job. And I think the people of Puesta have done more than an outstanding job. And I've had this conversation with many people, I don't think we're preparing for the next 30 years in the city of Rio Rancho. So my proposal, in order to be ready for the next 30 years, is to look at a wing at Puesta, but also a wing and repurposing a school on the north side, and also looking at replicating a Shining Stars on the south side, maybe not in the next year, but maybe in the next 10 years. And then continuously to grow, because our 3 and 4 year old population, special ed or regular ed, is not going to go. And I just think we don't have any money, and it causes us sometimes not to plan like we should be planning for the future. And I think this is my biggest hang up with the sign that I see, the City of Vision, is that the vision, and I know we don't have the money, but I think we need to look at taking care of the 3 and 4 year old population in a community that has 100,000 people that mostly work, because kindergarten is this 3 and 4 year old program is going to full day. So if you can make sense out of that motion, that's my motion.
It was a comment, right? You haven't made the motion.
So, Board Member Tripp, before we go to that, I think we're gonna have to have a clearer motion, like from
All right.
not, but
I'm willing to try to help you when you're ready. Yeah.
I told her, she said it way better than I did.
Go ahead. Did you have other
guys ready? Okay.
I mean, even after we have a motion, we can still have further discussion if we needed to. But so this is Board Member Tyler. I will make a motion that we move forward with changing one wing at Puesta to be repurposed to a pre-K, with knowing that we need further work in the very near future to accommodate additional pre-K facilities. And so hopefully one day our state will get their, I won't use a bad word because I caught myself, their stuff together and actually allocate correct funding for pre-K and allow us to build a new, a second Shining Stars like facility. But I think that I'm sorry, I'm talking instead of just giving a motion. See, Gary, you got me, yes. Sorry, yes. So the motion is to proceed with doing a wing at Puesta with additional pre-K planning needed in the future. So that's a motion, so we need a second.
Well, can we now ask another question?
So we have a motion out.
I'll second it then, so you can ask.
Wait a minute, I just want.
Now you can discuss before we take, yeah.
So if we move to the wing, you had indicated that we won't be able to bring more kids, and when will we be able to bring more kids?
Board Member Morgan, when we get more space. And the reason is a wing at Puesta, if we go full day, Patrick Martinez figured out we can probably do about 199 4-year-olds. So that's not quite half of the grant. If we have some families who decide they want to stay half day at Shining Stars and then some go full day, we'll just meet what we currently have for the grant. We won't be able to expand in the school year 26-27. To Board Member Tripp's comment, if we were to look at another facility and do another micro center, it's just a consideration for the board to think about. Each of those centers is going to need the same administration, the same front office staff, and so all of those costs will replicate. But if we do a wing, we'll just be able to meet the grant, depending on how many families want full day. If we still offer half day, we can probably serve some more students, but it really depends on what the family's needs are going to be.
We also do not have as much room on the north end for schools. Most of our north end schools are already full. Mr. Grande is approaching 1,900, I think, 900 and some. Sandia Vista is getting pretty full, so that's another issue. A lot of our growth right now is on the north side, so we really don't have the space on the north side that we do on the south at this point in time.
In full transparency, we'd probably have to look at a Cleanest campus and see if we could do a similar model at the Cleanest campus, because their population is similar to the size of Puesta, and they have a similar building. So that would be something that we would have to look into, and that would be more west side than north.
North.
I have a question for Jessica Tyler. So can you just expand on what you were saying in our work session that we were talking about your concern about money?
Sure, yeah. My concern is that we were at a huge budget shortfall this year. We had enough in reserves to be able to cover that because of the funding formula changes that state PED made, largely around our longer school year. So previously we got extra funding for that. They changed the funding to where we didn't get that funding this year. We were able to cover that this year. But if the state legislature does not make changes moving forward, we will be short again. And so we're going to be looking at potentially having to make program costs if that is the case. And so my concern is that if we move forward to repurpose all of Puesta from a budget standpoint, the money that will be needed for construction as well as standing up another facility will put us at even more at risk for having a balanced budget. And so I was saying, I feel right now we can be judicious. Like Dr. Cleveland said, we never know what the legislature will do. So we don't know what they'll do with funding. We don't know what they'll do with potentially requirements. But right now, if the grant is out for pre-K, still allowing half day, that's a pretty good indication that for at least the next school year that will be allowed. So I feel that we're safe at serving our current students with the half-day pre-K based off of what's allowed by the grant that's been announced so far and closes in February. So largely my concern with repurposing a whole school and building a whole new pre-K center right now is the budget concerns and the unknowns there.
And Board Member Tyler, I just want to clarify, we are over capacity at Shining Stars right now, and we're halfway through the year. So just something to consider in the decision. We'll have to think about that if we go full day and half day, and how many full day slots we can possibly do in the future.
And I think those are other decisions that can be made once the board makes this decision. As far as, what do we offer at Shining Stars? We can't, they don't have the facilities to offer full day right now. So that's going to be sometime down the road anyhow. So we do have more time to decide how we want to offer our pre-K programs. Maybe we will offer half day at Shining Star programs and a full day at Puesta or something along those lines. And of course, yes, the grant funding is going to be dependent on the number of students that we can enroll, the number of students we can house at Puesta. But again, there are a lot of unknowns, and so that's where it becomes difficult for us as a board trying to weigh the pros and cons and make the best decision when we don't have a crystal ball. That's why I think the judicious thing to do is to move forward with starting with a wing at Vista.
Just a point, I just want to be sure people also are aware, there would be no increased operational expenses in terms of the building because the building's already operational. And so we would, if we move students, they are going into buildings that are already operational and would not impact the cost of utilities or, the basic operations. So there isn't any increase there. But where the increases will come, to your point, is the refurbishing and rebuilding that building, and that is going to be costly. So the other is, as was shared in the workshop, we don't get complete funding for anything really, but we certainly don't get full funding for our pre-K programs, just like we don't get full funding for our special ed programs, and that continues to be a challenge for the school district. The last study that was done shows we get about 85 cents on the dollar, and that's not true of the majority of districts in this state. So it is very challenging, and we don't control those variables, and there are a lot of unknowns. But in terms of the basic operational costs of the building would not change because the building is already operational. So I just want to be sure people are aware of that.
Do we have any additional comments that need to be made?
I just have a quick question. You talked about the enrollments. If we had the wing at Cuesta and looking out into the future enrollments, what are your projections there? I know it's kind of hard, but you may have some idea about what those enrollments might be. And how quickly would you be at max, I guess I would say, at Cuesta?
For the pre-K program,
Mhm.
Member Miller, we would, if the wing was fully optional, we would be, if we take the current students at Shining Stars and they wanted to be full day, we would be at capacity upon opening.
Also, I want to note on the special ed programs, every year we end with about 30 to 50 more students that require special education services than we did the previous year. So that those numbers are constantly going up.
Sometimes I've told the special services department, you are the victim of your own success because so many people move to this district for programs or their children in special services. And so that's good on one hand, but we certainly see a lot of people who move here with very high need children because they feel the services are strong.
A couple things I just want to address really fast before we kind of finish this, that, as we were in public comment, a couple comments were made. And I don't think it was made in a way that was trying to, it just didn't sound great, but I just want our district and Puesta and all of the students in our district to know just how much everyone matters, how much our staff matters. And I think when we're making decisions like this, it can feel like maybe you don't matter or people are just looking at the numbers and such. And you do have to look at the numbers, right? And you do have to look at the money. That at the same time that every single child matters and every single staff member matters very much to us. But the hard thing is when you're in these positions, you have to really look out at the future and you have to look at all these things. And if we don't do that, as much as we are caring for everyone here, then we're not really doing what we should be doing. We're not really doing a good job of the things that we should be doing. And so I just wanted to bring that up because I have the opportunity to work with the board. We don't get to talk about these things outside of the boardroom because they need to be always in public. But also because I work with the district staff very often and sit with Dr. Cleveland. And I've talked a lot with Jana about these different things and just how important everyone is I know that everyone's important. And so I know there's been some controversies and it's been hard as we go and make these decisions, but I just want to make that clear that in our district, all of our students are important. All of our staff's important. And it's a really hard job when you have to look at the whole. So with that, is there any other comments before we go to a vote?
No, I mean, I think that those are very worthy comments and none of us know definitively, right? this isn't what any of us, this isn't the perfect scenario, like Janice said. I mean, perfect scenario would be money would be abundant. We could build a great new facility. Shining Star would have their cafeteria. They could do, full day pre-K, they could do half day, and we would be able to just replicate that and do it even better, but that's just not the reality of it. And so I feel like this is the best decision that I can make given the resources that we have with the least amount of impacts while also trying to serve more children eventually. Although I know if we move to full day, it'll only be serving the current students, but we set out to broaden our pre-K program. And if we move our pre-K program from half day to full day, that's still a win. And so if that's all we do and we still only serve the same number of students, if that's what the studies say is best for our students, then we're still moving the needle in the right direction. It might not be as far as we want to move it. And so that's where, Gary, your comments are very well taken, that we have to continue planning. This isn't a one and done fix, right? This is just a step in the direction of what we need to do for pre-K for our district. And so I would ask that everybody be mindful of that this is not, the end all be all. We're not going to just do a wing at Puesta and call it good and be done with pre-K. We're going to have to continue to do additional work to be able to serve the children that need to be served. So.
Okay.
I think he did second it. Or do you have that on record or no? Yes.
I do. I have a motion.
Did he? You okay with the second?
I'll second it.
Who made the second?
It was Gary.
Okay.
So I have checking my notes. I have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Gary Tripp. And if there's no further comments, then we'll go ahead and go to a roll call vote, please.
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Secretary Tyler.
Yes.
Board Member Tripp.
Yes.
Board Member Miller.
Yes.
President Galbraith.
No.
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay. 4-1, yeah, 4-1. So do we need any further direction as you guys are going to sit down on this, or are we feeling good on direction?
I think, whatever the board votes is what we will do, and we will do enthusiastically. And so we'll move forward. Very concerned about a lot of children. I think we're not going to meet their needs. But we are constrained by the lack of finances, and we're continuing to work on that as well. So we will, I think we've got good direction and we know what we need to do.
Just for clarification, Board Member Tripp, are you asking, as we keep looking to kind of look at keep another school in mind? Were you asking for that?
Yeah, in my head of dreams, if we had the money, I know Sabi is moving out and they're moving over here. And I thought, oh, there's a building, and I know it would be a playground like the playground of dreams over there by the hospital, with turf and everything. But just thinking there might be some things out there that can possibly be refurbished. I know it's a nightmare because I know, what you guys have all had to do with CT, all of you, because I think it's an amazing thing what you guys do. I meant it sincerely when you guys did a great job. So I'm just hoping in my dream that tomorrow there's a building and you say, oh, we could do a wing, and Mike Baker will pull a magic wand and there's money to refurbish it. I mean, that's really my prayer, my true prayer to God and my dream,
Did you want us to look at another wing in another school? Was that?
I think we if it's possible with the boundaries, it's just something that is part of a look at. I know Dr. Cleveland made mention people that weren't in the work session, but we have Kim Bessie coming to help us with boundaries, and I think that's a really good thing for our district. Probably should say more when she retired, but she did so many of those underlying things that could really help us, because there might be a possibility out there, but somebody like that would know, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Could I say just one more thing on that? I'm sorry. So I think it's kind of anticlimactic to me in some ways, because I feel like, we're not resolving the pre-K issue really with tonight's decision. And like I said, it's a step in the right direction. But to Gary, to your point, I think that the additional direction is that we need to keep working on having a better option, because I think that closing Puesta fully didn't sit right with a lot of us. I think it displaces a lot of students. It does create potential, space issues at some of the other schools. We're going to have to redistrict anyway. I think we can do some other things. So I think we need to, like you said, keep working on it, and maybe one day like I said, one day soon, maybe Mike Baker will get that pot of money when we have legislators that realize that we have money that we need to put towards pre-K, and that they'll actually support school districts doing that versus just community-based programs.
And if I can, I think it's pre-K. I think we've struggled with the alternative schools or with Cyber Academy. I think we're a great district that meets the needs of a lot of kids with a great staff, with a great district office, but we need some help from the state on all those things. And we got great minds, so maybe we can make it work.
Anything else from anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you everyone it's been a lot of work for everyone. And Puesta, I love you all. I'm excited maybe to not hear as much from you, but I love you all. It has been good. Though I'll probably miss you all. So if I just start emailing you, it's fine. Okay. All right, so we'll now go to our next item, which is to consider award of RFP number 2025-006 IT-E rate, category 2, Maggie Cordova Elementary School cabling. Sorry, it says Maggie's.
Board President Goldbrith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. Before I get started with the presentation, I just want to make an acknowledgement to the IT staff. This E-rate procurement is one of the more technical procurements that we administer throughout the district. It requires compliance with the New Mexico Public Procurement Code. It requires compliance with E-rate and their auditing requirements and the district's policy. So I'd like to acknowledge Scott Leppelman and the IT staff and thank them for all their assistance with the procurement. But in particular, I'd like to acknowledge Mr. James Cleveland, who helped develop the technical specifications, the CAD drawings. He assisted with the site walkthroughs, addressing questions at those site walkthroughs. And as questions got uploaded to our electronic bidding platform, he also provided assistance in drafting the responses that we issued through a formal addenda. So I'd like to acknowledge the IT staff. The solicitation is for an award recommendation based on the evaluation committee's ranking of the proposals. The RFP award is for 2025-006-IT E-rate Cat 2 for Maggie Cordova Elementary School cabling to be issued to Cypress Communication Systems. Just a brief description of the scope. The scope includes an upgrade of the Cat 5 cabling that currently exists to a Cat 6. The responses received for the solicitation, there was 5. Advanced Network Management Incorporated out of Albuquerque, American Fire Protection Group out of Albuquerque, Counter Trade Products out of Arvada, Colorado, Cypress Communications out of Corrales, New Mexico, and IT Connect out of Santa Fe. As part of the solicitation, we verified compliance and responsiveness. All vendors met that criteria and were evaluated by the evaluation team. They were scored and ranked. A little bit about Cypress. Cypress has extensive experience working K-12. They also have experience working with Rio Rancho Public Schools. We did a solicitation back in 22-23 for Ernest Stapleton, almost an identical scope. And they were the awarded vendor. They completed that project on time and within budget. We have confidence that they'll be able to continue if the board makes recommendation, if the board awards the recommendation that they'll be able to complete this. And in addition, they were the highest ranked, but they were also the lowest price. So with that, I stand for questions.
Questions from the board? No question.
I just have one. You said that you were replacing the older Cat 5?
Yes, sir.
And what's the new one, Cat what?
6.
Is that the highest?
That's beyond me, Scott.
Well, I guess the only reason why I'm asking is if we're going to replace, man, let's Just, let's just go to the highest level if it's possible. That's why I'm asking if that's the highest level now.
Dr. Cleveland, President Galbraith, members of the board, sorry. Can you repeat your question one more time?
I was asking them, we're going to replace Cat 5 cabling and go on to 6. I'm asking, is that the highest level?
There is 6A as well, but there's really no need to do that. And they're much thicker cabling and they require different patch panels. The speed ratings are close to the same what we need. There's really no need to add on the Cat 6A. It's also more expensive.
And so if we do this now, how many years from now will we have to turn around and?
So we see the infrastructure last for about 20 years, not more than that. So yeah, I don't see any need based off of current technology and future technology at this point to go beyond 6.
Okay, can I make the motion now? Anybody else got questions? We're good. I make a motion that of the approval, award of RPF number 2025-006 IT E-rate category. Is that category or just Cat 2? We're good with that?
Cat 2, yeah.
Okay, good. At Maggie Cordova, ES Cabling with Cypress Communication System. Well, that was pretty good, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Thank you. Just for.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
I just
Okay.
want to quickly reiterate what was said up here about what James Cleveland did with this project. He has to do multiple of these every year. It's a lot of work trying to do the timing, trying to schedule the schools. Also, the amount of work that's done with E-rate, we're saving a tremendous amount of money on this. The total cost was something like, I think, $119,000. We're only on the hook for $35,000 of that between the E-rate and the PSFA reimbursements by the end of the whole project. So going through those processes, doing the RFPs, filing all the paperwork, working with our vendors, that is a lot of work and we save a lot of money as a result. And this is just one of, a dozen projects we've done in the last several years. We've saved millions and millions of dollars through these programs. So, and James is a tremendous backbone to that. So I very much appreciate it. The district appreciates it. So, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks for all the hard work, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now go. We have second readings on the next 4 policies. So we'd like to, let's see, welcome up. It looks like Mike Chavez is working on all of these a lot. Yes. Okay. So we have our second reading for board policy 711, which is a drug-free workplace. For 722, which is the termination or discharge of employees. 737 for medical leave and 738 for non-medical leave. And so we'll go ahead and we'll hand it over to both of you. Sorry.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. As you've said, we are here for the second reading of the board policies that we presented, last year. So we'd like to review those with you. There were some edits made based upon some comments that we received at the last board meeting. And at this point, I will turn it over to my colleague.
All right. I'll keep it short and sweet. This has been an eventful evening. 711 is the drug-free workplace policy. What we did is, per board member Tyler's recommendation, we shortened that introductory statement, cleaned it up a little bit so that it's less wordy, it reads a little less patronizing, and it just gets to the heart of what we're trying to accomplish, which is just to put folks on notice that we don't want drugs on our campus. The other thing we did is we removed the requirement that anytime there's any kind of an accident, an employee involved in that accident will be transported to be tested. What we're really concerned about is impairment. And if it's obvious that an employee isn't impaired, we're not going to get involved in driving them to be tested. We will ask them to drive themselves to be tested, but we won't use the manpower, woman power to drive them there with other staff resources being used to that effort. Those are the only changes we made to 711. If you have questions on it now, I could address those now, or I could move through all of these and then do them separately. What is your preference?
You guys good to just keep moving through them? Okay, we'll just keep going through.
Okay.
Okay.
So we move to the next. 722. All we did here was fix some typos. The board recognized there were a few typos. We cleaned it up. No substantive changes on this one. 737. What we did here is if you could scroll, Claudia, to the right to the end. In the second to last paragraph, what we did is we took board member Tripp's advice here, and we added examples of related medical conditions. So you can see it's the second to last paragraph at the end. Maybe you scroll down to the last page. Sure why they're not there.
Is it 14,
I thought it was
15,
up
16,
some, right?
17? And I think yours said
Yeah,
14 of
I
15.
apologize.
But I think there on our packet, there's 14 of 7.
You can see them in there.
737.
Well, what we did, and I apologize that it's not presenting on this screen, but what we did is made some examples of what those related medical conditions might be. So related to pregnancy. So that it's a bit more clear.
I looked at them earlier today. Does anyone have questions on that? Are you good? Okay.
It's a non-exhaustive list.
Yeah.
They're just examples of what count.
Okay.
And then we'll move on to 738. And this is non-medical leave. And then what we did with this one, again, we took board member Tripp's guidance on this one is there was some concern that if we left the time frame open-ended for when people had to provide evidence that they were going to take domestic abuse leave, it might leave inconsistent enforcement or application. And so what we did is we took a stab at a reasonable time frame, and we said 5 working days from commencing the leave. We'd like to see something, some evidence, a police report, could even be a statement from a police officer. But we kept it at 5 days to make sure we're equitable. And those were the only changes that were made.
Okay, awesome. Do we have questions from the board on these
I
policies?
just want to make sure that your thing had 15 pages on 37, that you'll make sure that.
17.
I think the difference is a Google Doc in what we're looking at in the Google Drive versus a PDF. So the spacing might be different. So the pages don't.
But it wasn't up here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The
Right.
one that was sent to us
Is different
not
than the one they're
lined-
showing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure the one that we agree upon is the 17 page, not this one, is all I'm saying. Okay?
President and board member Morgan, yes.
Okay.
We'll ensure that the one you're agreeing on, that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
voting on, is the one that you see.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm asking. Yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on these? And we can go to a motion, I think go ahead and go on all of them, but.
Okay, this is board member Tyler. I'll make a motion to approve board policy 711, drug-free workplace, 722, termination or discharge of employees, 737, medical leave, and 738, non-medical leave.
Board member Jeff Morgan, I second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on these ones.
Vice President Morgan?
Yes.
Secretary Tyler? Board Member Tripp?
Yes.
Board Member Miller?
Yes.
President Galbraith?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. All right. That's it on this. Did you have anything you wanted to end on those policies or
I
anything?
think it was pretty self-explanatory.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, as far as advanced planning goes, so our next meeting will be the 27th. There's also an audit committee meeting that night as well. On the 10th, we have a finance committee meeting and a board meeting on February 10th. The Board Institute is coming up, so that's the one that's up in Santa Fe. So that's the 13th through the 15th. Has everyone registered who's planning to attend that? JC, actually, can you sign me up for that, please? Is there anyone else that needs to? Okay. Okay. You are? Okay. Okay, so if we can just let her know. And then if you did want to meet up with Chris Balzano, we also need to set up an appointment with him. So please let us know with that. I find it's a little tricky up there to some of those things. So you can get on the floor and talk to some of the reps and stuff, but they're pretty busy. And so sometimes it's hard to get there and really have, I think those conversations are best had honestly before the session goes in. So, but there is time set up, I believe on Thursday. Is that right, Gary? Thursday, I think there's time set up if you would like to go and do that, but they tend to be in and out of session. So, and on Friday as well. And if you need to stay up there, please also, we need to let JC know that as well. So anything on advanced planning, any questions or anything on that? Okay. Our meeting is adjourned. Okay. Thank you, everyone.